All rise.
Okay, welcome back to the Court Reporters Cafe, everybody. This is Kim, and this time I've got 4 friends along with me from different parts of the country. One new one, hopefully, with Trish, since you just volunteered on Facebook to come on here, and I grabbed you. So I know Esther and Stephanie and Lisa, but this is my first time meeting Trish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the table. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, what method they use, how long they've been doing it, so on and so forth, and then we'll just move it on from there. Does that sound good, guys?
Yes.
All right. So let's go to Esther first. Esther, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I am Esther Delgado. I live in San Antonio, Texas. I work as an official in Bexar County. I have been a voice writer July will be 3 years. And I was the first official voice writer in Bexar County.
That is awesome. And you're married and you have kids, right?
Yes, I'm married. I have 3 kids, 2 dogs.
You have your hands full.
I'm very much a family woman, so that's where all my spare time goes.
Spare time. What's that?
Right.
The only one that has that, I think, is Lisa at this point, but even then, I don't think so much. I heard she's working more now than she ever has. So, all right, let's go over to Trish. Trish, tell everybody about you.
Hi, I'm Trish. Can you guys hear me okay? No echo?
Yeah, you're fine.
I've been a machine writer for 20 years now. I've been an official for 18 years almost. In June, it'll be 18 years. And I'm in California. And we just hired our first voice writer. So I'm just learning about voice writers, and it's very interesting to me. It's very exciting, though.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way about it. And you have kids, married?
Yes, I'm married, and I have one daughter. She's 7.
Oh, I think I remember you saying something about that. So she keeps you running around, doesn't she?
Yes.
All right, Miss Lisa Garrison, tell everybody about you except me. I already know everything about you.
I'm Lisa Garrison. I am a machine writer, and I retired in 2023. I was official in North Carolina for 35 years, and I freelanced 3 years before that, and now I am proofreading for people. So I met Kim, actually knew her husband first because he's a probation officer. And when she went to court reporting school, she sat in with me and I was her mentor. And I'm married. I have no kids, but I have a dog. And that's about it.
There's so much more to you. You're just a bevy of information and a wealth of knowledge.
I'm an old one.
You're an old one. But look at her, though. She looks amazing. It doesn't matter. Okay, Stephanie, let's hear about you.
I am Stephanie Whitehead, and I have been a California CSR for 32 years. Time flies. 32 years as a deposition reporter. The last 5 have been as an official. And then I did get involved in the move to bring voice writing to California. So I figured I better put my money where my mouth is. And I did cross-train and got my CVR last year. So I'm very excited to use that in the courtroom and continue to promote. And so it's just not so unusual, when people see a voice writer here.
Yeah. And you're married and have kids
and
grandkids now?
I'm on the grandma track. I'm a nanny.
Yeah. Yes, nanny. Look at you. Well, it's kind of funny that we say, in our free time, this is what we do, but there's not a whole lot of free time. We've all figured that out. I don't care how good you are. Like, I know Lisa has her real time. I have my real time. And everybody else, I'm sure, is working on your real time every day for yourself. But as far as the certification goes, no matter what, you can have a bad day just like anybody else and go home and work so hard on something because they were assholes and talked too fast or, whatever. And so you're constantly trying to get it to where you could go home and do a quick read and, wow, that looks great. And I've had that maybe twice in my life. And there's usually short little pleas or testimony, which testimony I say is my thing, which is very, very odd because when I was taking my CVR, testimony was the worst grade I got. And
Oh,
so when I took my RVR, it was the best grade I got because I do it every day, right? I mean, people say, "Oh, do you practice?" Yeah, I practice every stinking day. I practice and I still look at my real time every day to see how it is. But I'm going to tell y'all, I had just met Esther in San Antonio. We were on like a group of people, a panel if you will, of different voice writers at different stages in their careers. And I got to hear Esther's story. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring her on here because of her topic. And she doesn't have to throw anybody under the bus. You can remain anonymous as far as whoever you're talking about. But I know she had some issues becoming an official. So, Esther, do you mind telling that story?
sure. Um, I don't really like backtracking, right? Because we've made so much progress, I think, in Bear County.
Absolutely. But
Um,
the reason why that you can backtrack is because you've moved forward.
yes, yes,
That was
definitely.
really deep, wasn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think that I'm glad that I did it,
Yes.
and I'm glad that nobody else had to go through being the very first. I had no idea what I was in for. Um, as far as the atmosphere, not so much the job. Um, but it was hard. I went straight to the judge because I wouldn't get any callbacks from HR, because I was proud, right? I was a proud voice writer. I wrote that all over my resumes and letters, and I just didn't. I was just ignorant to the fact that they did not hire voice writers in Bear County, um, and
Is
so
that San Antonio?
mhm,
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
yes,
Sorry.
and this was back in 2022. And there was a judge there that had a position open for a while. I applied for it. I called her coordinator and she set up an interview. So I went for the interview and I got the job. And she said my interview would be 5 days long. So she wanted me to sit in. And I did, except that judge did not tell HR. She didn't tell HR until she hired me. And in my county, the judges hire the court reporters and the coordinators. And so when I went to HR to talk to them to submit my paperwork or see if they needed anything, I was met with, "We don't hire voice writers. I don't know who's going to do your paperwork. We've never done that. We don't do that." Um, and that was my very first, what did I get myself into? Um, and why is this so hard?
That was a moment, wasn't it?
It really was. It was. And right away, I did have a machine writer come to my defense. And say, yes, it is a thing. It is legal. We do it here in Texas. I don't know who this. I know who she is now. She was the first one to advocate for me, and it was, I guess, just the right place, right time for her or for me to have her there because she is someone who's well respected in court reporting in my county, who's been there for many years. Um, so that helped. But along with that, after that, it was, we have to see if you get paid the same as machine writers. We have to see what your pay is going to be. That was probably the only thing that really got under my skin. Everything else kind of did, but after talking to my community, my voice writer community, I finally realized what I had gotten myself into.
Yeah.
I had to sit with other machine writers, compare rough drafts. That's what they wanted. That's what people wanted to see. It was nerve wracking because I was only there. I was just right out of school. Like I didn't have experience, which now I see now why ideally you need experience to be an official for the courts.
Right.
Um, but I went through that, and luckily I had a judge. I was sub during my free days when my court was not having court, and I had a judge who was he used to be JAG, so he was very familiar with voice writers in the military, and he just advocated for me, and it was what got people to respect that I was there, I think, in my opinion, because I never
Having
really
him having him there next to you?
having him there and having him advocate for me, because he wasn't my judge. He was just somebody I would sub for every now and then, that was not freaked out with the method. He was just like, "What's the big deal?" Because that was one of the courts where I would sit with somebody and they would watch us compare. So it was, after his after him advocating for me, I was able to. HR sat me down and said, "Hey, do you have anybody who would maybe want to sub? Any voice writers? Any friends that would want to sub? We would like the judges to get to know them." And I was ecstatic. I said, "Yeah, I have a lot of friends that I had been scoping for 2 years, but fortunately, not very many wanted to come to the county because everybody knew that they weren't welcome there. I was probably the only one who didn't know, but we did get to come on board as subs, and we just kind of went from there. And we started getting, they started hiring them as subs.
So, do you feel like you had to prove yourself? You had to prove yourself. You had to show them that you were worth whatever the machine writers got. I mean, how did that work out? Did they have to look at your transcripts to see if you could do this?
I was asked to pull rough drafts. Yes.
Ooh,
Um, yes.
wow. So, how did you manage that?
I pulled them. I mean, it wasn't great, but my writing wasn't horrible. I feel like I had been scoping, and so I knew what transcript should look like, and I had, they wouldn't make me pull it right then and there. I had the normal, like, what we wanted, and go clean it up
Right.
real quick, and we want it, but it wasn't horrible. Um, and I did get to compare it with a machine writer, and ours were about the same, I would
Yeah,
say. And it was nice for me to know that, because who else is going to do that, right? Even if it was another voice writer, that's hard for people to do right off the bat. Just, "Hey,
it
let's compare
is.
notes." It's kind of nerve-wracking, but
Are you one of those people though that you feel like you work best under fire?
definitely, to get my voice down, I would have my deputy tap me on the shoulder every time he could hear me. um, I would have people stand behind me all the time. Just people would just read my transcript. They were curious when I got into the courts. They had never seen that in Bexar County, so attorneys would just stand behind me and watch. So it made me get better faster.
Absolutely, but you're that person that is like pushing your way through the weeds, you're hacking at it with your blade trying to get through everything and trying to make it happen and to prove yourself. I don't know how other people feel, and because I'm in a very voice friendly state, very voice friendly, and having had a machine mentor and someone as a mentor who was machine and voice certified in both as a mentor. I just don't really, I don't think I struggled enough, y'all. I feel like I need to go and struggle somewhere and, have people beat me up in the parking lot or something. I don't know. But I mean, your story when you told it in San Antonio just meant the world to me because it really made me appreciate where I'm at and what I'm doing. Now, I deal with people all the time because it's my fault. I put myself out there, right? I put myself out there on social media, whether it's the podcast or TikTok or whatever, and I really push, push, push. So I open myself up. Y'all know you hear about celebrities all the time that say, "Oh, no, you can't follow my kids. Wait a minute. Your job is this, and you did this, so you asked for it." I know there's always some sort of boundaries that need to be there. But for those of you like you, Esther and Stephanie and Trish, now just getting to see what it is that voice writers do, Stephanie kind of plowing forward and making things happen out there. And you, Esther, you've been through the weeds. So for me, total respect. Total respect on what it is that you guys have done to push this forward. And I'm going to go, and I know that Lisa has not lived in Iowa for a very long time, but that's where she's from. And everybody knows that Iowa just came in, what, last year? Or year before last to accept. I always find it weird to say it's legal because, like, you're not going to get arrested if you if you do. I don't know. Are you going to get arrested if you do voice writing somewhere? But Lisa's been gone enough, and now that her state has their first voice official, I know she doesn't know this person. She doesn't know what she went through or anything. But what is it, Lisa, in your case, besides me? And I know Courtney, our friend Courtney, came in before me, slightly before me. How have you interacted with voice writers? When was your first time of really seeing what this is? And is it challenging to you? Is it competition? It's not competition or anything like, how do you feel?
Well, coming from Iowa, I didn't know what voice writing was. We don't have any military bases, which North Carolina has several.
Hmm.
But the day I came to work in 1985, there were voice writers. So it was just another method.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a competition, but I had to learn how y'all did things in
Right.
terms of your briefs and whatnot. But it was just, they were asking me.
Right.
So it wasn't, it just was not a big deal.
Well, and you didn't feel threatened? You didn't feel like voice writers were trying to take your job?
No, but I got the feeling back then, this was in 1985, so a long time ago, um, because there was a bunch of us that came from out of state, voice writers from Iowa and Kansas. The
Hmm.
farm crisis was going on. We had several schools. We had 2 schools in Iowa. We were putting out about 50 reporters a year,
Right.
and, which was big for us. And we would get remarks because we were coming with the electronic machines. And so we were the ones getting the remarks back then from some
From the
voice writers.
voice writers?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. But it wasn't ugly. It was just they would like say, "Oh, you think you're so hot," kind of thing. And we were coming with what we had learned. I was in the
Yeah.
first class of computerized steno machines and CAT.
Right.
And so, but it just wasn't ugly. I think it was just the unknown.
So, do you think that, and this is really for everybody, do you all feel like some of that, the ugliness, the feeling of competition, the feeling of you're going to take my job comes from not being educated?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. And I will say, let me say one thing.
Hmm.
Um, Coming from the Midwest to the South, the East, Southeast,
Hmm.
there's a territorial component to that. It wasn't just voice machine. It was, you ain't from here.
Oh, so it was more of a territory,
Well, I don't know
geography.
that it was more of, but because they didn't know what we learned. I mean, it was just different. So, but it wasn't just voice and machine.
Hmm. I think that's the hardest part right now is we're trying to change that. So if you look up on a dictionary, what is the definition of stenography? If you go on Merriam-Webster, it's different than from other ones. So Merriam-Webster, I think, specifically says by voice or by hand. And I've tried forever to get North Carolina Court Reporters Association to accept voice writers. I feel like more than anything right now, we need to be unified. We need to get together. We need to be out recruiting. We need to be side by side. So, my thing was we should have one organization that, you know, helps everybody who is a court reporter. I don't see that ever happening in my lifetime.
Well, Kim, we tried that.
You told me that, right?
When I was president the second time. And
yes.
It didn't have so much to do with the differences of how we do things. It had to do with the two national associations and what they counted as CE points. And so it was more a bureaucracy thing. For years, we had joint conferences.
Really?
Before you started, yeah.
At NCCRA.
NCCRA and NCVRA. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's, I'm speaking at NCVRA next month about recruiting and getting people to understand what it is court reporting is, because no matter what, if you've never heard of court reporting, how are you going to get students, period, whether it's online or brick and mortar? And it's interesting to me because I feel like when I Googled, I'm of that generation of Googling for a new job when I'm done with everything, although I'm older. But I would Google and everything came up either NCRA or voice. Those were the two things that came up. And now if you go on and Google court reporting schools in North Carolina, you get a shit ton, right? You get a shit ton of things. But when you look at their syllabuses, it's all about digital. Oh, Gaston County in North Carolina, it's digital. We have this, and this. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do to make that happen, if anything. But by the way, I want to say we have Diane joining us from Texas. She was a little bit late, but she's here now. So we got 2 Texas, 2 California, 2 North Carolina. We're all evened out. So let me just stop right now and say, Diane, give us your bio. Where are you from? What is your method of takedown? What is your understanding of voice writing? And how long have you been doing this?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for me being a tad bit late here.
It's okay.
So, yes, I am Texas certified. I've been certified for almost 2 years now. And I am a machine writer. Before that, I was doing CART. So I've kind of been in the industry for quite a bit. But my take on, voice writing has always been the unknown for me, right? Because I was always machine. It's not until about 2-3 years ago that I started learning about what really machine writers do. Um, and the misconception is from the people that I've talked to is machine writing is not stenography, but that's not the case because
Machine writing
I'm
or
sorry,
voice writing?
I apologize. Voice writing
No,
is not.
that's okay.
Voice writing is not, a legitimate way.
Stenography.
Correct. So
Right.
there is that, you know, misunderstanding of them thinking that they are actually talking into the mask in English or whatever, and that's how they're able to take down what everyone's saying. But that's not the case. They're phonetically speaking. In other words, how we're taking it down in the machine is how they're doing it with voice. And so when I explained that a little bit to someone that's also a machine writer, she was just flabbergasted. She said, "Really? I always assumed that they were just talking in English and it was just taking it down." I said, "No, ma'am. They are, they have their software that works for them just like us with briefs and whatnot." And so I think
Yeah.
that's the problem, is that a lot of, whether it's a machine writer or whether it's anybody else, they think that that's what voice writing is. And so they don't see it as an equal as a machine writer. So for me personally, I see machine writing as voice writing and machine to be the same in my eyes. Texas, from where I'm in Fort Worth, so the courthouses in Fort Worth aren't too picky on, if they're a machine writer or a voice writer. I feel like some in Dallas County might be a little bit more biased or might be more leaning towards a machine than they are voice. But I think that's changing for, to accepting more of this, of having a voice writer in the courthouse.
Right.
because there's just so
Do you
much.
feel do you feel, Diane, that it is a matter of everybody trying to take the time and the effort to go and see what it is that voice writers are doing? I mean, I do not use a ton of briefs. I do not. I'm sorry, but I don't. But I have those briefs that are coming in at 325 words a minute that helps me to keep up. And I'm sure
Mhm.
that Esther does as well. We have, and Stephanie, I mean, Stephanie is certified in both, so she knows where it is that you're going. So I have my judges that say the same thing over and over and over again. And I can say, let the record reflect, and it puts it down there. Do you feel like it's just not being educated?
I think 100% it's not being educated. Schools a
Yeah.
lot of the time are just, they're pushing the machine so hard. Not so much now. I went to Arlington Institute, and
Mhm.
they are very voice writer friendly. So I do
Mhm.
feel that a lot of it is not understanding what voice writing is, not understanding how they're certified, because they are also certified as a machine. They
Right.
also have to take that state exam. So
Right.
I 100% agree that it is a lot of, they're not just not being educated. Because I think you mentioned this earlier. There's three ways to be certified, and at least for Texas, it's pen, machine writing with your
Mhm.
hand. It's machine and
Hmm.
it's voice.
Well,
And
you know what? You make a really, really good position. You make something perfectly clear there that machine writers went through this, or pen writers started off.
Mhm,
They were pen writing, and then, oh my gosh, look at these people coming in with a machine. That's technology. It's doing this thing. And there was a whole butt ton of discrimination against
mhm,
machine writers.
mhm,
And then for some, and I'm saying for some, not for all, because I have very good friends who are machine writers, dot, 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 Lisa, and dot, 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 several others here in North Carolina that accept me and they understand what I'm doing and they understand where I'm going. But there are others that will constantly be berating because they're afraid of losing their job. And we're not. We just want to work side by side
mhm.
and cover the shortages because everybody here, right? We all have shortages in our states. We're talking Texas, the biggest state in the union. California is what, the second biggest? And then North Carolina's not the biggest, but we're pretty, you know. So we've got that. I mean, we have shortages as well. We have 10 openings here in North Carolina for officials. You could live at the beach, you could live in the mountains, you can be in the Piedmont by Charlotte in a big city or out in the boonies somewhere in the Orient there. But this is where we are at, and we have to hold our hands together and sing the Coke song or the We Are the World and say, look, we're here together making things work. So,
Mhm.
like Stephanie, I want to know what with you made you jump into this mosh pit of
Yeah.
craziness. What happened with you?
Well, it was about 4 years ago, and I was an official, a brand new official. I had left freelancing, and I just was more afraid than ever that they were bringing in electronic recording. And
In
I'm like,
California.
yes.
Yeah.
And I am here for the retirement. I am here for the income, not the outcome. I
Yeah.
need to know that I'm going to have a job in 5 years and 10 years.
All right.
So
I'm
I got
stealing that one, by the way.
here for the income, not the outcome.
Yes.
Um, so I got involved in our association. It's what I tell, everybody to do now as a teacher. I'm like, you can affect change if you get involved. So I got involved with our local association, and eventually I got on the board of CCRA, which is our state association. And we needed reporters, and we needed reporters now. We didn't need them in 5 years when they got out of machine school.
Yeah.
And so we just started looking around, like, what are our options to get more reporters to California? It's really expensive to move here. Are we going to
Yeah.
recruit from out of state? And one of my colleagues mentioned voice writing, and I knew nothing about it, nothing. And so I figured, like a lot of machine writers probably, that you all were speaking into your mask and the computer was doing all the work. or you were maybe just, it was a super fancy microphone and this cat software was doing it for you and you were filling in
Oh
the
my God,
blanks.
I wish. I wish.
I know. So just like you, Kim, I Googled voice writing and Betty Key's name came up. And she was so gracious. She spent about an hour and a half with me on the phone and just educating me. She answered all my stupid questions.
So I have to ask you.
Yeah.
So when I first started out, I was getting ready to take my RVR, no, my CVR.
Oh,
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Betty Keys. She literally wrote the book.
right.
She's not going to answer me. She's a rock star. She does whatever.
That's
And I
right.
sent her a message on Facebook Messenger.
Mhm.
And 5 minutes later, she sent me her phone number and said, call me. I'll talk to you. And I was like, I can't talk to you.
I
You're
know.
this famous person. You can't know. And now we're
Oh,
friends and we talk all the time on the phone.
oh,
So that's super special. That is
yeah.
super special. So what
Just
did she tell you?
she answered all my questions. No, we are literally making a record just like you. You know, we use cat software just like you do. We produce our own rough drafts, our real time. NVRA actually lowered their certification speed to match NCRA. And I'm like, that sold me right there.
Yeah,
I'm like, look, if you're taking and passing the same tests as a voice writer,
right.
if you're taking the same record word for word like a machine writer, if you're passing the same certification exams, if you're producing the same product, we need you in California right now.
Right.
So that's
You
really
know,
my journey.
I just did, it was just released yesterday with two California teachers on the podcast, Carrie Ravenscroft and Jocelyn Epperson.
Love them.
I've always known that I need Stephanie on here, but I wanted her for the right thing. And I, just like with Tori Pittman, I wanted her on the right thing.
Mhm.
It has to be something that suits. And so when I was talking to Lisa on the phone one day, I said, oh, hey, can you come on and do something? Because
Yeah.
she, not just because she's voice friendly, but she understands what it is that we do and how we do things. And when she'll listen to me and I would tell her, hey, I've got this going on. I need a brief for this. In fact, it was at her courthouse, Lisa. I don't know if you know this, but it was at your courthouse in Cleveland County that I was working, I believe, with Judge Bridges. And he kept saying something over and over again. And I always try to find something because our judges in North Carolina rotate every 6 months. So our judges get out and away from their constituents and go somewhere else. And someone else comes in and they can like lay down the hammer and do what they have to do to get, reelected or whatever. But it was with, I believe it was either with Pomeroy or Bridges. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get, he's so fast. I mean, neither one of them are super fast, but I was still a beginner and I was looking for something that would drop a yes and then a cue so that it would take out a step with me. And I pulled out the tray for the what do you call it, keypad, and there somebody had posted something on there and it was Caesar, Seezer, and Sozer, which was a period, yes sir, drops the next cue, and then it was Sozer, no sir, and drops the cue. And then I thought, holy crap, if I can do this for yes and yeah and all these other things, I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to work it up. So I don't know if, was it a voice writer or was it machine writer?
No, it was Mark Garvin, who was a voice writer who I took his job when he left to go be the first voice writer in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
He had moved up there with his new wife or something. And
Oh,
he had, I think it was him, and because before that they had a voice machine writer there for about 20 years.
yeah.
So, but I think he did it.
Well, it changed my life. It changed my life. It
Oh,
made
good.
my 225 jump to 325. If you're going that fast, then at least I know I'm going to get my Q and my A and my yes sir and no sir and everything else going. So what you're going to find, Trish, as look how I segued that. So you're going to find, Trish, that with you just now learning about what voice writers do and they're accepted where you are, tell everybody how that happened and how you feel and how you're embracing and how everybody else is embracing there in California, your end of California.
So I think that there is a lot of confusion with digital versus voice.
Yes.
And that I think is a huge problem. And I see that a lot on social media as well. I try to stay involved a lot with social media, and I'm always trying to educate myself. And a lot of people simply just do not know the difference. And, the California is very new
Right.
with voice writers, but I could see that people were having mixed emotions about it, but me personally, I was excited because we are really short, not just in my little town that I live in. I live in Merced, which is between Fresno and Modesto. It's a little farming community, and we only have 13 courtrooms and only 5 reporters.
Wow.
We've lost some over the years to retirement. Some people had to move for whatever reason. Some people decided they wanted to go back into freelancing. And it was really just, we've been struggling for the last 3 years to fill in those spots.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we learned that voice writing was now legal, I was very excited because, a lot of people get excited about going to court reporting school, but machine writing takes a lot longer. The average is 2 to 5 years. And so it's very frustrating to be a student and, to be failing for that long,
Right.
And so a lot of people quit. Like, a lot of the people I went to school with did not graduate with me, did not become CSRs.
But they didn't even know about voice writing.
No.
Oh.
No, because I was a student a very long time ago. But I remember, like, one time somebody had asked me, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" And I told them that I was a court reporter, and they said, "Oh, you're the one that has like that mask or that thing in front of me?" And I had
Right.
no idea what they were talking about. I was like,
Wow.
"What? No." And so I thought that was funny because I was like, "No, I've never even heard of that."
Well, you know what? I think that probably Esther can agree with me on this. That's totally the opposite. So, with us, nobody knows what voice writing is. But the fact that you live in a community, a smaller community, a farming community, and you have that many courtrooms makes me jealous. So, I live in a fairly good sized town that has a very old courthouse that has 3 courtrooms. One is always for district, one is for like family court, but all I do is superior. So we have
Mm-hmm.
one courtroom. My judge, who is the most, and Lisa and I both, neither one of us can get into my judge's craziness. And I say that in the best way possible because he's the best judge I could ever have. He's funny and he is accommodating and everything, but he is trying to woo a new courthouse. It's not going to happen on on my watch with everything I have going on in my life. It's not going to happen on my watch. However, he's trying to get more superior court sessions so that we don't have to be overwhelmed by what's going on. And for me, I get calls, I get emails from people saying, "Can I sit in with you? Because I don't know if I want to do machine or do I want to do voice?" Okay, so for me, I had to do voice. I needed a paycheck. I was changing careers at 50 years old. So I had to make all this work together. And my husband, who still worked for the state at the time, now he's retired, was like, "Oh, you got to call Lisa and see what she does, and we can do whatever." And I was like, I don't have time for 2 years of school. And that's if I'm doing good, you know? So for me, I chose voice so that I could get out there and do my thing. However, that if I finished school in 9 months, I passed my certification. Let me regress. I did not finish school. I passed my certification, which is the only thing that North Carolina needed as an official. I knew I wanted to be an official. I want that paycheck every month. I want my retirement. I want dental, medical, eye, the
Yep.
whole nine. That's what I want. I have to
Same.
know, right?
Same.
You same way. So I knew that that's where I wanted to go, and I had to be able to finish and finish quickly, and
Hmm.
I did, except for the fact that my mother was passing away at the time actively with pancreatic cancer, and I was taking time off to go be with her. So for me, I was like, what can I do? I have to go to work. And voice was where it was at. I was with her. I was practicing. I was doing my test. Then when I got to software, I decided that I could not learn online with software. And it's nobody's fault but my own brain, how it works. As an ex-teacher, I know that you have to teach several different ways in order for people to get it. And I went outside of my school, found somebody close by that can sit with me, and she made it happen. And that's what I needed more than anything. I needed to go to work. And I think nowadays people, and I'm sure besides, I don't know, I may be the oldest one here, that I'm sure that I knew that I did not have the time to go through everything. So every single day means I work harder. I think with machine school, you all come out already pretty much knowing everything, and you know where your fingers are going and you know where everything is. However, with voice, we just have to pass the CVR and make that happen. And we make it happen, but then people are giving up. People are saying, I have my CVR, but guess what? You're still not real time. You're still not doing what it is that you have to do so that you can go home like Esther does with her small children and spend time with them and do everything that they can. And I'm sure that Diane, I know that you are with Jennifer Cook. You are her mentor. You're a machine writer. Jennifer is a voice writer. And you see that with these people that are just beginning. Am I right?
So, yes, I mean, I can kind of she's asked a lot of, how do you do this, X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Um, but luckily for Jen, aside from me, she's had wonderful mentors in her group of court reporters, friends and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
she had a lot of knowledge already going in as a new reporter. And so, yes, machine writers need that, but I do agree that I feel like voice writers do need it a little bit more because they have,
Absolutely.
luckily for them and thankfully for them, they get to graduate, I would say, sooner than a machine does, and so they have very limited time to get all that knowledge in that, that's that time frame. To as we're a machine writer, 2 years, 3 years, we're a little bit more exposed with, how do you do a transcript this way? How, asking the right questions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember going through that with Lisa, and especially Lisa, because she kind of put me forward, right, Lisa, on this job as a rover in North Carolina. I applied for a job in a big city that was like an hour and 10 minutes from me. I didn't get it. And I was just like heartbroken. But I also believe that God gives us everything for a reason. Here's what's happening. That's the way I believe. And then Lisa said there's something coming up for a rover, which is you go out and you work in different courthouses when their resident can't be there. I'm sure everybody has some sort of a something like that. And I remember when I got the rover job, I went one day with the judge who did not hire me, and I was covering for somebody. And the person that he hired above me, who he said, I got to have this person, he had that person. He ended up firing that person. And then he asked me, why don't you apply for the job here? And I said, because you had your chance. I'm sorry, but I love what I do and I love traveling. I love all the other judges. Of course, now I have a judge that's amazing and I'm hoping to have on the podcast. I don't know if I can make that happen, but that's where I'm at now. But I always had Lisa there and Tori there in the background going, you got this. Come on, girl. We know you can do this. And they were lifting me up and making me feel absolutely more important than I thought I felt that I was. And they made it happen for me. And everything that has happened to me since made sense to me, right? It happened for a reason. So the fact that mentoring and menteeing is so important for everybody. How, I'm curious, Esther, especially, do you have someone that you're mentoring right now?
I have a few, and what I really wanted to touch on before we get into that was
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to. So I am so pro machine. I started as a machine writer. I'm finally getting surgery for my carpal tunnel next month, but that's why I stopped. I was getting injections, it just wasn't working out. And even the experience that I had with machine writers in the beginning, I was still pro machine because I think it's awesome.
It
Um,
is.
and if, even though I don't know so much about it, and because I didn't finish school, I went to
Right.
voice. I still loan out my machine. I still advocate with the county to
Good
go
for
that route.
you.
I don't tell people which route to take. It's their preference.
Yes.
Um, but I'll tell you and this is why I started mentoring, because in the beginning I didn't have time to mentor. I didn't really want to. I felt like if you want this job bad enough, you need to do everything I did and sit in trials. If you've never taken down a trial, you need to sit. You need to observe trials and take them down. I read them. I would ask for trial transcripts and I would read them and know how to set up my index and do all these things. People come out of school, in my experience, that I've seen voice writers, because the voice writers look for me fresh out of school,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to get a job. They graduate so fast. They want the money. They get there, and we take substitutes also. They get paid $500 a day or something. But oh, I want to work at the county, but I don't want to do trials. Well, it's a courthouse. And and I started telling people, if you want to shadow me, you need to come during a trial. You need to take down the trial. Um, I want to read what you write. I want to do all these things. I don't want you to waste my time, and I don't want to waste their time, right? Like I want them to know what exactly it is like to work for the county. And these are the things I see machine writers. We have an awesome group, mentors for machine writers, but they send all the voice writers elsewhere. To my knowledge, some of them will keep them. Um, but I do think it's important now, because now it's not so much the voice writers can't get in. We have 3 officials now in Bear County and some subs. But now the complaint is that they're too loud. They didn't finish school, so they didn't get there. And also in Texas, we can test online.
Yeah.
So
And you don't need the CVR.
right, we don't need the CVR, so we don't have that component where you're disqualified if we can hear you. But
Oh,
unfortunately, that's coming into the courtroom because they're finishing school so fast and not training their voices well, and they don't have anyone to tell them, because clearly everybody can hear you,
yeah.
but they're telling everybody else except you, and that's
They don't
hard.
want to hurt your feelings. They don't. Yeah, I get it.
And
I get it.
that's why I started finding time. I'm also in a county court now, not a district court. So now I do have that time, but we still do have smaller trials, which is even better because now they don't have to stay for 2 weeks, right? They can stay for 2 or 3 days. But
Yeah.
I feel like because of that, I'm so hard on them, and I probably shouldn't be. But I kind of want to scare the hell out of people and let them
You
know
should.
this is what it's like.
Absolutely.
We are too busy for you to figure it out five
Yeah.
days from now that you don't want to do this.
No, I agree with you 100%. And that's because of my mentor mentee stuff. I see these people come in and they're like, oh, I passed my CVR, but how do I get my real time better? Oh my gosh. From day one, your real time should be getting better and better every day. But I do have schools that tell me, no, don't do that until after you're done with school. So, unfortunately, I was that rebel without a cause that would be in school and watching my real time and watching my takedown, and oh, that sucks, I can't do if somebody looks at this, I can't do it. I was forced into my RVR by a judge who said, I want you to be here with me, however, I know you're going to give up 10% of your income. Okay, so what do? We get my real time. And so I signed up for it, I did it, and it all turned out good. However, the RVRM is a challenge for me. I can't get my master. It's 200 words a minute, one shot. One shot. You can't do literary. You can't do jury charge. It's one shot, 200 of Q&A. And you get this 5-minute slot that you have to have everything perfect. Okay. I mean, I think for most people that sounds great, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult when you get into it. So I appreciate the fact that you're putting yourself out there. And I consistently have California and Texas court reporters wanting a mentor constantly in the mentor mentee program. Okay, so when I put out there, and I know I'm Trish and Diane had somebody recommend her, but with Trish, she just went out there all willy-nilly, going, hey, I want to be a part of this, not knowing where it is, but luckily she fell into my hands. But I had somebody ask on the same post that I put out there for everybody, how much am I going to get paid for this? I'm sorry, nothing. I don't get paid anything. I have no sponsors. I am just a court reporter. And she goes, well, why would I do that with my free time? What are y'all's thoughts on that? I mean, am I crazy that I shut her down?
Why wouldn't you do it? This career has given us so much.
Yes.
It's the only one I've seen where we actually turn around and lift up people who could literally take our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you?
I agree.
And I feel like with voice writing for me in my county, I want the reputation to be better. I've seen what they're talking about with certain people, but I don't know anyone else who's going to step up and make it better or make voice writers better. I have to be that voice. This is my job too. I've been lucky enough. This is my third court. I've been lucky enough to been hired for a third time by a judge. So I don't want that reputation to go down the drain because people aren't quite ready, and I get it. I was, I did this for my family too. My oldest has spina bifida. My youngest is autistic. I didn't do it to start a revolution. I did it because I needed the money. I know my work ethic. I knew I could do it. Some people go into this school and these schools and they think all they see is money. I know in Texas at our county, our pay is, I believe the starting pay is 120,000. So they're just seeing, just get my foot in the door, when there's so much more to that. And mentoring takes a lot of time. Depends on where that person's at. But I think it's completely worth it because that's the future. And if we want to stop digital, the only way is to bring in qualified people and make them qualified, even if they come in, however they come in, whatever they know, we have to build on it.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add real quick. I mean, I talk for ACI, which is Arlington Career Institute, where I graduated from. I go talk to the students all the time. I don't get paid for that. I mean, to me,
No.
that's a privilege. I mean, I think I could
Isn't
speak
that
for all of us.
passion?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
passion. It's what it is that we do, right, Trish? I mean, we sit there and go, okay, I'm going to spend the time going here and we'll make this work.
Yeah.
Right. And just to add on to what Esther was saying about, we don't want digital. And people who are getting so mad and worked up about the courts having to use the FTR electronic recording, it's like they don't have a choice. If they can't get people to apply, and
Exactly.
there's a shortage, and there's been this thing in California for especially since COVID, a lot of people, they don't want to work in person anymore. They want to work from home, and it's really hurt the courts.
Yeah.
But you know we don't um, we don't want to have to use the FTR machines. We want real live reporters. Our judges want real live reporters. They don't want FTR either. And so I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of the judges are okay too with voice writers, at least in my court. They're very curious and interested about what they do, how it works and everything. But yeah, we don't want FTR, and that's, they just simply don't have a choice, because that's when you have all
Right.
these courtrooms and not enough people, that's what they have to use.
Well, here's where I'm confused, and I think Lisa can probably follow me on this. So, the trial in South Carolina, the big one where he killed his, what was the
Murdoch.
name? Murdaugh. So, Murdaugh, in that trial, we had FTR, we had Steno, and we had voice. All three.
Well,
So, if you look it up on YouTube, you can see what the judge said. So, it was basically, what was it, Lisa? It was,
the FTR, well, what they did is they ran the recording, and if it was FTR, I didn't know that, but they ran it through AI.
mhm,
And the judge made an explicit clarification that it was not, the lawyer stood up and said this was the biggest waste of money. It was worthless because it was
mhm,
like a rush, somebody's testimony or something.
mhm.
Um, and the judge made it very clear it was not the live reporter in his courtroom that had done that.
Right, whether voice or machine.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and but the I can't remember the name of the defendant's lead attorney. He's the senator down there. He was not happy. It was like thousands of dollars.
Yeah. It was horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
he got up and said, Your Honor, he put it on the record. Here's what happened. It wasn't what we expected. And, he said, the judge said, It's not one of my court reporters, is it? And he said, No, it's FDR. He called it out, period. So all of us need to be at least thankful to know that we can be a part of this community that is making the record what it is, right? I mean, I'm not scared of a machine writer. Machine writers that I know are not scared of me. We all do the same thing. But then in the end, we can produce that transcript. I'm not sending it to anybody else. I trained my daughter to be a scopist on Eclipse, and she has so much work right now that she has no time for mama. None. Mama's going through all this stuff, but hey, I'm sorry, mom, I can't help you. And that, I'm happy for her, but at the same time, I'm sad for me because I can't get somebody to help me. Luckily, I have people like Lisa and a few other people that said, Hey, do you need proofreader? What can we do to help you get through this? And that's where I'm at. So as we go and we're closing everything up and we're tying the bow on the ribbon here, is there anything else anybody wants to add to this that you feel makes a difference for all of us? Open your mind, say whatever you want.
I think I'd like to just thank you specifically, Kim. The
Oh,
work that you've done since I've met you. I mean, just like you said, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and available. to students and new reporters, I think that that's the community that we're trying to build here. Whether you're machine, whether you're voice, come together, be available. And I think it can't be understated also what Esther had to do as a brand new reporter. As a brand new reporter, who cares about your method? To stick you in a courtroom next to a seasoned reporter and say, do what she does.
Yeah.
I mean, and you did it. So
Bless it.
kudos to
She
you.
did. Absolutely. Esther, you have paved the path to where we're going, and you're amazing, because we are live human beings sitting in a chair in a courtroom doing what we have to do.
Yes, and I also I have to give it to the machine writers also, who also came and helped me after that, knowing that the struggle was real, even though a lot of those conversations went, don't tell anybody I'm helping you. Just the fact that they were,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, advocating for our profession. It
Yes.
wasn't a personal thing, and I totally respect that. And I think it's just very telling now where the county has progressed, and it's great. And I hope we just keep continuing to move forward,
Yeah,
because
I
that's
agree. How do you feel in Trish, how do you feel there in California?
As far as, sorry.
As far as where is it going with voice?
It's kind of hard for me to see, because the counties that our neighboring counties are kind of far, but so I'm not sure how accepting they are. I've heard in other parts of California that they're not as accepting. In others, they're welcoming. I know Stanislaus County, Modesto, they are very accepting of voice writers. Um, I think, again, it's simply a fact of uneducation. People think, oh, a voice writer is the same as a digital, where they're just pushing a button. And I have told people, some of my friends who are machine writers, no, that's not true.
Good.
And I try to educate them, even though I don't know that much, but I try to educate them and say, no, they are doing their own shorthand. They are
Yeah.
producing their own transcripts. They pass the same CSR exam that we do, and they're certified to work just like we are. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like you said earlier, a lot of people think that they're just talking into a mask, they're just repeating everything, and the whole job is being done for them on the computer. And I probably thought that too, maybe a couple years ago. So education is key.
It is. It is. And you're completely right. We have to move forward. We have to do everything that we need to do to make this happen. What about you, Diane? You feel the same thing?
I feel the same way. I think the biggest threat for us is not ourselves. We're putting too much energy into, what's the best way to do it. I think the biggest threat, as we all know, is AI. And, digital is right there next to it. So I think if we incorporate AI, whether it's voice or machine, real time, I mean, real time is the future, really. And so, wasting all that time and energy on dividing us isn't really going to get us anywhere. So I'm all for the platforms, podcasts, social media, anything that will advocate, educate, and really inform what it is that we do.
Well, let me ask something of Lisa before we go everywhere. Lisa, as someone who has retired as an official, I mean, do you A, take people who are voice writers, or B, take people who are stenographers, machine writers, and what is the difference?
Um, I I don't think I understand. I don't see a difference.
You don't.
I you know in North Carolina, we're at a place where I believe, because I'm still involved with people in the system,
Hmm.
and it was this way when I left. We are we have our different methods, but we all realize we're doing the same job, and
Hmm.
so our fight is not really against each other. it's against digital, it's against AI. So hopefully in other states where they're allowing now voice writers, you'll get to that point. North Carolina has the advantage with voice writers is because we have a number of military bases and in Georgia and surrounding states, Virginia. And so voice writers have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And so hopefully other states will get to the point where y'all are about equal in terms of numbers or and you'll come to the realization that the fight, like you've all said, is not with each other. It's with AI and digital.
Right.
So, but I
agree.
don't see a difference. We have good machine writers. We have bad machine writers. We have good voice writers. We have bad voice writers. And a lot of times it just boils down to their own personalities. But that doesn't say anything about the method.
No, it's about how much work you're going to put in there. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm not going to make a point there, but I get it. So we have to stick together, voice and machine. We have to do what it is that we do and make everything right. So before I end all of this, is there anything that anybody wants to put on here that, makes people there in your state understand what's going on out here and how we can make it better? Anyone?
I'll just say that I think it's very important for us to all be united and be a team and focus on that rather than, thinking that someone's going to take our job. There's plenty of room for both.
Right. I agree. I think there's plenty of work out there for everybody, but let's be that person that can real time, that can tell somebody if they ask you, hey, what happened on January the 4th? And you can say, let me see. And I pull it up and I've got everything and we're good to go. That's the main thing for me. So anyway, I love y'all. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I every day am considering how important you are and what a part you're making to this community. And I appreciate you all so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you again.